Assalamualaikum students. Today we'll take up one more important topic, that is the major blood vessels of the heart and thorax. So these are the all learning objectives for this topic, that is identify the beginning, the end as well as the tributaries of the superior vena cava, then recognize the course of the inferior vena cava in the thorax, list the number of pulmonary veins and recognize their course. Then the fourth is identify the largest artery in the body and mention its parts. So these are the objectives which we'll cover in this lecture. Just a minute. Okay. Okay. Coming to the superior vena cava. So first we'll talk about the superior vena cava and the inferior vena cava, because these are the two veins which will be draining the venous blood from all the parts of the body back into the heart. Okay. So the superior vena cava, it is the formed by the union of two brachiocephalic veins. If you see here, there are two brachiocephalic veins. These are the two brachiocephalic veins which join together to form the superior vena cava. So superior vena cava is formed by the joining of the two brachiocephalic veins. So two brachiocephalic veins coming from the right side and left side join together to form the superior vena cava behind the lower border of the first right costal cartilage, close to the right margin of the sternum. If you see here, if you may, this is the sternum here. Okay, this is the mammibrum sterni, this is the body of the sternum, and here are the costal cartilage. Here are the ribs, the first rib and its costal cartilage. This is the second costal cartilage, this is the third costal cartilage. So this formation of the superior vena cava and the beginning of the superior vena cava. So if you see here, this is the right brachiocephalic vein, and from here there is the left brachiocephalic vein. So this joining of the right brachiocephalic vein with the left to form the superior vena cava, and the beginning of the superior vena cava begins from the first right costal cartilage. So what you are seeing is this is the first costal cartilage. Just behind that is the beginning of this is the superior vena cava here. Okay. It descends vertically down. If you can see here, it is vertically coming downwards, vertically to pierce the pericardium. So if you see here, this is the superior vena cava, and here there is no pericardium, but it is covered by a pericardium. So there will be a covering called as the pericardium, as we have studied before. Pericardium, again, it has two types, the fibrous as well as the serous, and serous again it has two layers, the visceral and the parietal layer. Okay. So this superior vena cava formed at the first right costal cartilage, and it pierces the pericardium at the level of the second right costal cartilage. In between here at this level, it will pierce the pericardium at the second right costal cartilage. If you again go back to here, so this is the second right costal cartilage. So here will be the covering of the heart, that is the pericardium, where it will pierce the pericardium. Immediately before piercing the pericardium, it is joined by a vein called as the azygos vein, a very important vein. So it will join here. If you see here, this is the entrance of the azygos vein. They have shown the entrance of the azygos vein. I think in the previous classes we had discussed I had shown you the azygos vein, the hemiazygos, and all those structures. So azygos vein will be draining the right side of the chest wall. Okay, and it will be draining before it pierces the pericardium. This azygos vein will open into the superior vena cava. So immediately before piercing the pericardium, it is joined by the azygos vein. Then it ends, the superior vena cava ends or terminates by opening into the upper part of the right atrium, as we know. So this superior vena cava will open into the right atrium. This is the right atrium and this is the right auricle here. Here like structure, this is the left auricle, and the whole chamber is called as the right atrium here. Okay. So it is opening into the right atrium, okay, behind the right third costal cartilage. If you see here, so it ends, beginning, it is very short, okay, begins at the first right costal cartilage, pierces at the second the pericardium at the second costal cartilage, and it ends at the third right costal cartilage by opening into the right atrium of the heart. Okay. So it ends by opening into the upper part of the right atrium behind the third right costal cartilage, close to the right margin of the sternum. If you see here, this is the margin of the sternum, right margin. This is the left margin of the sternum. So it is opening into the heart, that is the right atrium, at the third right costal cartilage, just beside the sternum. Okay. So now going to the next vein, that is the inferior vena cava. So we have seen this is the superior vena cava. If you can see here, these are the two right and left brachiocephalic vein joined together to form the superior vena cava. And here you can see this is the intrathoracic. Behind will be the azygous vein. Behind will be the azygous vein which will be opening here. Okay. So, which is this? This is the azygous vein. They are shown on the left side, but usually it will be on the right side here. Okay, so it is more here. It is shown on the left side, but it will be more on the right side, and it opens into the second part of the superior vena cava, and the third part will open into the right atrium. Now coming to the inferior vena cava. Inferior vena cava is mostly in the abdomen. So it begins by the joining of the two common iliac veins and it ascends upwards. Okay, this is the inferior vena cava. But we are not studying the whole course. We are studying just the part which is present in the thoracic region. We are studying only that part which is in the thoracic region because we are dealing with the all the blood vessels which are there in the thoracic region, the important large blood vessels. Okay, so the inferior vena cava will be short, very short in the thorax, but it is a long, it is the major part of the inferior vena cava will be present in the abdomen. So the main part of the inferior vena cava lies in the abdomen, as I said, but the uppermost part, that is just half an inch, lies in the thorax, very short. As soon as it pierces the diaphragm and comes into the thoracic region, it will directly open into the, the right atrium. So it is very short, just half an inch. The inferior vena cava enters the thorax by piercing the central tendon of the diaphragm. The vena cava opening lies at the opposite to T8 vertebra. So there are three important openings in the diaphragm. One of the very important opening is the inferior vena cava, which is at the level of T8. Then the aorta opens at T10. No, the esophagus opens at T10 and that is the aorta opens at T12. Okay, from the thorax it will enter the abdomen. Okay, but the vein is coming from the abdomen to the thoracic region and it pierces the diaphragm at the level of T8. Okay, so this is as soon as it pierces the diaphragm T8 and just goes half an inch, then it opens into the right atrium of the heart. Now going to some other important veins, those are the pulmonary veins. Pulmonary veins. There are four pulmonary veins. Actually, we study the pulmonary trunk before we study the pulmonary veins. Anyhow, here it is mentioned as because we have to go through the way the venous blood will be opening. But anyhow, no problem. We can study the pulmonary veins first. So there are four pulmonary veins, two on the right and two on the left, which are carry the oxygenated blood from the lungs to the heart. So if you see here, so these are the pulmonary veins. So the right superior pulmonary vein, then the right inferior pulmonary vein, then on the other side, left superior pulmonary vein, and below is the left inferior pulmonary vein. Even though I'm telling it is vein, I'm showing the red colored structures because this is very typical that the pulmonary veins will be carrying the oxygenated blood from the lungs to the heart. So it is carrying the oxygenated blood, which is oxygenated here by the pulmonary veins. Okay, and they will be opening into the left atrium. Okay. So these four pulmonary, two on the right, two on the left side, will be carrying oxygenated blood. That's why they are shown red in color, even though we call it as vein, but they will be carrying the oxygenated blood. These are the only veins in the body which will be carrying the oxygenated blood from the um, anywhere. Okay, so here they are carrying from the lungs to the heart. So they begin as capillaries in the wall of the alveoli, which unite to form the venules, then the larger veins. Okay, so if you study the histology, at that time you will see that they begin as the very small, fine vessels, which are called as capillaries, and then they join as multiple veins to form larger veins, and finally they form the two on the right, two on the left pulmonary veins. Okay. The radicals of the pulmonary veins run in the connective tissue septa between the adjacent bronchopulmonary segments. As you know, if you have studied before, the lungs, in that we have the conical structures or pyramidal structure called as the bronchopulmonary segments. Okay, so these pulmonary veins will be running in between the segments. So that's what is called as the intersegmental, because inter means between. Okay, so it is between the bronchopulmonary. It is not inside through the bronchopulmonary vein segments, but in between the bronchopulmonary segments where the pulmonary veins will be running. They will be running in the connective septa between the adjacent bronchopulmonary segments. Okay. At the hilum of each lung, the superior pulmonary veins lies most anteriorly, while the inferior pulmonary veins lies most inferiorly. Okay. So if you see here, the superior and the inferior pulmonary veins, there will be one superior, I will show you, superior pulmonary vein and the inferior pulmonary vein. So they said the superior pulmonary veins lies most anterior, while the inferior pulmonary lies more inferiorly. Okay, so that's why it is called as inferior, because it lies inferiorly. The right pulmonary veins are longer than the left, as you can imagine, because the right pulmonary, the right, left atrium is towards the left side. So these, and even the heart is slightly towards the left side. So these pulmonary veins, which are coming from the right side, should be longer in the course compared to the left, which as soon as they begin, they end in the left atrium. So these left pulmonary veins are shorter compared to the right, which are long pulmonary veins coming from the right side, because they have to cross the midline and then go towards the left side and then open into the left atrium. That's why the right pulmonary veins are longer than the left. The right superior pulmonary vein runs behind the superior vena cava, while the right inferior runs behind the right atrium. If you see here, the right superior pulmonary veins runs behind the superior vena cava, and the right inferior pulmonary veins runs behind the right atrium. This is the right atrium. So that is how it is present. All four pulmonary veins pierce the posterior superior aspect of the pericardium to end in the left atrium. As I said, all these four pulmonary, two on the right, two on the left side, all pierce the pericardium. Sorry, so they will pierce the pericardium and then open into the left atrium of the heart. They form part of the boundaries of the oblique sinus of the pericardium. As you remember, the oblique sinus is in front of this the pulmonary vein, so they are also forming part of the boundary of the pericardium. Okay, so these are the pulmonary veins. Now coming to the pulmonary trunk, that is this is the pulmonary trunk here, which begins from the right atria, the left sorry, the right ventricle. So the blood will be pumped from the different parts of the body to the superior and inferior vena cava to the right atrium. From there it will pump into the right ventricle, and from right ventricle the blood is pumped for oxygenation through the pulmonary trunk. So this is the pulmonary trunk. So it is called as trunk, even though it is artery, because it is very short and broader. Okay, so this is called as pulmonary trunk, and then it divides into pulmonary arteries. So even though there are four pulmonary veins, there are only two pulmonary arteries, right and left, one right and one left. Okay, and they are shown in blue color. Even though they are arteries, they are shown in blue color. So these are the pulmonary trunk. If you see here, the pulmonary trunk. Okay, it is short, wide arterial trunk which conveys deoxygenated blood. That's what is shown in blue color. As I said, it is shown in blue color because it is carrying the deoxygenated blood from all the parts of the body which has come to the superior inferior vena cava to the right atrium and to the right ventricle. That is the same blood is being pumped so that it is pumped into the lungs so that it can get oxygenated. So even though these are the pulmonary arteries, they will be carrying deoxygenated blood. So these are the only arteries which will be carrying the deoxygenated blood. So it is a short white arterial trunk which conveys the deoxygenated blood from the right ventricle to the lungs. It is 5 centimeters long and 3 centimeters wide. So it is very short, just 5 centimeters in length and 3 centimeters in breadth. This is called as the pulmonary trunk. It lies behind the sternal end of the second left intercostal space. Okay, the whole length of the pulmonary trunk lies within the fibrous pericardium. So it is completely covered by the fibrous pericardium. If you see here, so this whole part will be covered by the fibrous pericardium. Okay. Okay, lies within the fibrous pericardium. The pulmonary trunk and the ascending aorta are enclosed together by a common tubular sheath of the serous pericardium. Both this, if you see here, here is the ascending aorta, which form the arch, then the descending aorta. So the ascending aorta and the pulmonary trunk are very close, and they are covered by a single sheath together by a common tubular sheath, which is the serous pericardium. So it is covered both by the fibrous pericardium as well as the serous pericardium. Clinically, embolism of the pulmonary trunk by a blood clot is common cause of sudden death. Usually, the clots, because it is large artery, so easily the blood clot can go here. But as soon as it divides into pulmonary arteries, then the blood will clot here. Okay, because the clot cannot go further. So usually this is one of the clinically it has been shown that the pulmonary trunk usually shows blood clot. Common cause of the sudden death will be blood clot in the pulmonary trunk. Now coming to the next important artery, that is the aorta. As we know, the aorta is the largest artery in the body, okay, which will be conveying the blood from the left ventricle to all the parts of the body. So the aorta, this is the whole course of the aorta. Okay. So the aorta is the largest artery in the body. It carries oxygenated blood from the heart to the whole of the body, as I said. So it will be carrying the oxygenated blood, and it will give many multiple branches which will supply the head and neck, the upper limb, chest, thorax, abdomen, lower limbs, everywhere it will be giving branches. So this is the very important artery and the largest artery in the body, which will be carrying the oxygenated blood from the heart to the whole body. It is long, wide artery which arises from the left ventricle and runs first in the thoracic, then in the abdominal cavity. As you can see here, this course first, as soon as it comes from the heart, left ventricle, it will run in the thoracic region in different mediastinum, anterior mediastinum, superior mediastinum, posterior mediastinum, and then it enters the abdomen. Okay. So the thoracic part is divided into ascending aorta, which is in the middle mediastinum. So here, if you can see here, as soon as it comes out of the heart, this is called as ascending aorta, very short ascending aorta, which is in the middle mediastinum. Then we have the arch of the aorta, which is in the superior mediastinum. Then it will descend downwards, okay, behind the heart. That is called as the posterior mediastinum. Okay. Then it ends at the aortic opening. So actually it doesn't end, it is actually the descending thoracic aorta becomes the abdominal aorta. Descending because there is ascending aorta, so there is also arch, then descending thoracic aorta. So this thoracic aorta becomes the abdominal aorta. Okay, so it will continue as the abdominal aorta. So the end of the descending thoracic aorta will be at the level of T12 because it opens into the diaphragm at the level of T12. So it ends at the aortic opening of the diaphragm opposite T12, where the descending aorta becomes the abdominal aorta. As I said, the descending thoracic aorta becomes the abdominal aorta at the level of T12, where it pierces the diaphragm and goes into the abdomen. Now coming to the different parts of the aorta. The first part, which begins and continues upward, that is called as the ascending aorta. So this is the beginning of the aorta, this is the ascending aorta. So it is short wide artery almost 5 centimeters long and 3 centimeters wide, same as that of the pulmonary trunk. As we saw, the pulmonary trunk is also of the same size and running in a similar fashion, same 5 centimeters long and 3 centimeters wide. Its whole length lies inside the fibrous pericardium, that is the middle mediastinum. As we know, the heart and all its structures will be the middle mediastinum, and the fibrous pericardium will be covering this ascending aorta, and it will be present in the middle mediastinum. It lies behind the upper part of the body of the sternum, extending from the third intercostal space to the second right intercostal space. Okay, so it will be running towards the from the below upwards. So from the third to the second right intercostal, as we saw before. So here is here is the third and this is the second. So it will be running like this. Okay, from the third to the second right intercostal space. Okay, then it arches. Okay, so it will lies behind the upper part of the body of sternum, extending from the third left intercostal space to the second right intercostal space. Okay, junction. So it is from the third left because it is running obliquely from the left ventricle. So it will be running from the third left intercostal space to the second right intercostal space. The origin, course, and termination of this artery. So as we saw, the beginning at the aortic orifice, as the ascending aorta of the left ventricle behind the left border of the sternum, opposite the third left intercostal space. So it is behind the third left intercostal space, and this is the site where you can auscultate the valves of the aortic valves. Okay. It runs obliquely upwards, forwards, and to the right, surrounded together with the pulmonary trunk by a tubular sheath of serous pericardium. As we studied the pulmonary trunk, so the same thing as mentioned. So it will run along with the pulmonary trunk, the ascending aorta, and it's covered by a common tubular sheath of serous pericardium. It ends behind the second right intercostal junction by becoming the arch of the aorta. So it will become the arch aorta. This is the ascending aorta here. So it will continue as the arch of the aorta at the level of the second right intercostal junction. Okay, what are the branches? It will be giving very important branches, only branches and very important branches. Those are the coronary arteries, the two coronary arteries. You see here, this is the ascending aorta. So this is the right coronary artery, and from the left side behind the pulmonary trunk will be the left coronary artery running here. Okay, so this is the right coronary artery, and the left coronary artery will be behind the pulmonary trunk, beginning from the aortic sinuses. Okay, so these are the two important branches coming from the coronary arteries. Now coming to the arch of the aorta. So this is the arch of the aorta, origin, course, and termination. It begins at the second where the ascending aorta ends. So that is the side where the arch of aorta begins. That is the second right sternocostal junction. As a continuation of the ascending aorta, it passes first upwards, then backwards, and to the left in front of the trachea. Behind will be a trachea, so it will be running upwards, then backwards, and to the left in front of the trachea. Trachea will be behind. Let me show you the other picture. So here you can see here, this is the trachea. So this is the arch of aorta. You can see here. Here it is much more clear. It is arching from the right side towards the left side, backwards and upwards, as well as in front of the trachea. So trachea will be behind. So to the left of the trachea, it is also to the left, from the right side towards the left side. Then backwards and downwards on the left side of the trachea. Then as you can see here, then once the arch is complete, then it will be descending towards the left side. Okay, so it will be downwards and backwards. It ends on the left side of the disc between the T4 and T5 vertebra. So that is at the sternal angle. Sternal angle. Okay, sternomandibular the junction, mandibulo-sternal junction, or it is also called as the sternal angle. So where a plane, vertical plane is drawn. So that is the site where the arch of the aorta begins as well as also ends from the right side towards the left side. So it ends at the left side of the disc between the T4 and T5 by becoming the ascending thoracic aorta, the descending, sorry. So it continues as the descending thoracic aorta, as you can see here. So this is ascending, the arch, now it becomes the descending thoracic aorta. So what are the branches given by the arch? Very important, but three important branches, very important branches. One is called as the brachiocephalic artery. So these are the brachiocephalic veins. Similarly, we have the brachiocephalic artery. Okay, then we have the common carotid. This is the common carotid and the left subclavian, left subclavian. So these are the three branches, very important branches, which will be supplying both the head and neck part as well as the upper limbs of both the right and left side. So these are the arteries. One is first is the brachiocephalic artery, then the left common carotid, this one. Okay, then we have the left subclavian. This is the left subclavian. These are three branches coming from the arch of aorta. Now coming to the descending aorta. Okay, so this is the descending thoracic aorta. Okay, so this descending thoracic aorta in the posterior mediastinum, this is present in the posterior mediastinum and descend downwards from T4 level, as we saw, where the arch of aorta ends, that is for T4 T5 junction. So that is the site where this will begin. Okay, at the level of T4, it begins from T4 and ends at the level of T12, as we know, because it pierces the diaphragm and enters the abdomen as the abdominal aorta. So it begins from the T4 and ends at the level of T12 to pass below the diaphragm and become the abdominal aorta. So what are the branches it will be giving? Very important branches this the descending aorta will be giving. One is the lower 9 posterior intercostal arteries. If you see here, this is the descending aorta. So if you see here, there are intercostal arteries, are those arteries which are between the ribs. Okay, so that the space between the ribs is called intercostal space. The intercostal muscles, the intercostal arteries, veins, and nerves. So the arteries, the lower 9 arteries, are given by the descending thoracic aorta. If you can see here, so these are the branches coming directly from the intercostal arteries coming from the descending thoracic aorta. So the lower 9 posterior intercostal arteries on both the sides, and lower 9 posterior intercostal, because there are also anterior intercostal arteries. So these are the 9 posterior intercostal arteries which are coming. Then the subcostal artery below the T12, the 12th intercostal artery, which is called as the subcostal, because there is no below that, so it is not called as intercostal, but it is called as subcostal. Sub means below, the costa means ribs. Okay, subcostal artery below the T12. And then it will also give very important branches. One are the bronchial arteries. If you see here, so the bronchus, these are the the right and left bronchus. The trachea divides into right and left bronchus. So this bronchus is supplied by the branches directly coming from the descending thoracic aorta. Then the pericardial arteries, especially the fibrous pericardium, outside covering, the fibrous pericardium, those pericardial arteries are given by the descending thoracic aorta, and even the esophageal artery. If you see here, behind the trachea there is esophagus. Behind the trachea there is esophagus. You see here, where the trachea ends, you can see the continuation of the esophagus coming down. So it will behind before the in behind the trachea, then it will continue down. That also opens into the abdomen at the level of T10. Okay, so this is the esophagus, which is toward the right side of the descending thoracic aorta, and this aorta will begin descending thoracic aorta will give branches to the esophagus also. These are called as the esophageal branches. Esophageal branches. Okay, so these are the esophageal branches, and here you can see here these are the posterior intercostal branches. Then these are the mediastinal branches. All these are the bronchial branches. Okay, right and left bronchial branches. So these are the branches coming from the descending thoracic aorta. So this is all about the blood vessels in the thoracic region. One is you should know the superior vena cava, then the inferior vena cava, then two important arteries, that is the pulmonary artery as well as the pulmonary vein. Then we have the aorta, which has three parts: the ascending aorta, the arch of aorta, and the descending thoracic aorta. So this is all about this lecture, and if you have any doubts regarding this, you can ask me now.
Thank you, Doctor.
Doctor,
Doubts?
Doctor, I face some issues when I make my attendance in Moodle. There is no submit button, so I couldn't take my
Don't
attendance.
have any doubts? Okay.
Yes, doctor, I have the same problem.
Take the picture in case somebody missed. Just a minute. Should be there on time. Okay. Somebody says I couldn't enter, or like in the attendance the Moodle. Okay, anyhow, I will try to send this attendance, but actually the Moodle you should enter before within 50 minutes, and then